Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And sometimes the adventure of your lifetime might be, I don't know, walking down this red carpet and having cameras all over the place and all that kind of stuff. And that would be the adventure of a lifetime, I would think. And some people last night, because of the Emmys, some people who I've never heard before have won some great awards and stuff. And we're going to talk about a little about that, because we've got several people and they're all, well, I'll let Holly tell you about them. Holly?
Good morning. Happy Monday. It is my pleasure twice a month to come on to positivetalkradio.net and introduce the Passionistas. So we host twice a month, the first Monday and third Monday of every month. We host Amy and Nancy Harrington of the Passionistas Project.com, and they bring with them a Passionista. So it's like Power Passionista to the thirds. And so Amy and Nancy Harrington, who do we have the pleasure of meeting today for our wonderful listeners?
Well, we are super excited today because this is not only a Passionista, this is a third in real life sister. This is our sister, Beth Harrington. We like to call her the OG Passionista because she taught us everything we know. And Beth is a Grammy nominated, multi-Emmy winning filmmaker, and we could not be more proud of her and more excited to have her with us today.
Welcome, Beth. Oh my gosh, so good to see you. So good to talk to
you. Beth, it's a great deal of fun to have you here. And you know, one of the things that we've talked about, and Amy and Nancy know this about me, is that I like to present things that maybe people don't know or don't get the chance to experience. Mm-hmm. And like, there are millions of us watch the Emmys and the Grammys and the music awards and all that, and hardly any of us ever get our name called. What's it like to get your name called and then get to go up and make a speech?
That's a very nice thing. I mean, it's a trip, and you know what, all that stuff they say about, but it's just an honor to be nominated. It's really true, because you're just in the room with people, even if you don't get to go up. Like in the case of the Grammys, I got to be there, and that was incredible. And you know, we partied like wild animals at the end of it too, so it was great.
Did you get a chance to meet anybody that you wouldn't have otherwise met, or rub elbows over a cocktail or two with somebody after the show?
You know, at the Grammys, it was really fun. The Grammys, the year that my film Welcome to the Club was in the Grammy documentary category, music documentary category. So that year, it was right after September 11th. There's the first Grammys since the Twin Towers went down, and the Grammys are usually held in LA, but because of that, they wanted to do some sort of gesture to get help New York get back on its feet. So they had the Grammys in New York, which was great. And they bussed us in. There really wasn't a red carpet that year because of security. They bussed us in, and we went up through the bowels of Madison Square Garden, and the people we were with on the bus and in the tunnels underneath Madison Square Garden were like incredible. And one of the people we hung around with and met were the Blind Boys of Alabama, who are one of my favorite musical groups. And they had this whole entourage of people dressed in purple paisley, and it was just such a trip. You know, the whole the visual sense of it was really crazy. And then once we got to our seats, I was sitting in back of Rihanna, and later that night my favorite person that I met was one of the widows of the session players that were at Motown, and they had just had an album out that honored the session players of Motown, called "Standing in the Shadows of Motown," and those were the kind of people I really enjoyed meeting. There were other people, we went to a bar one night and there was the head of the London Symphony and a children, there's so many different people who make up the Grammys. Like there were these women who were multi-Grammy winners in children's music, and then you meet all these people who are the Grammy winners in polka and the Grammy winners in Tejano music. And so it isn't just like, you see the stars and they're there and, there's Bonnie Raitt and there's, Eminem and there's, but you also, Nora Jones won a lot that year. So we saw her, but it's really more the other people that are fascinating, the people that are writing the liner notes and making the music behind the scenes. And frankly, there were people like me. They were just, surprised to be there too. And it was really fun.
I gotta ask you, because you've been involved, and Nancy and Amy, feel free to chime in as well, because I've been watching a lot of, I'm scared to say it, I'm a Swiftie.
Very me.
Swiftie, okay.
You're a
No
Swiftie.
shame in that. There's
No
no
shame.
shame.
That's
Yeah.
totally cool.
I have never seen. Now, I go back all the way back to 1964. In 1964, there was this band that was on the Ed Sullivan Show, and then they were on in Shea Stadium, and then they were in the Cow Palace in San Francisco. They were all over the country, and that's the Beatles. But I've never seen somebody do 100 shows that are sold out with 50 or 1,000 or more people in them. Taylor Swift is she as amazing in your mind as she appears to be to us poor people?
I think so. But
Yeah, I mean, she's causing earthquake. There have been earthquakes where her concerts are. She's changed entire economies in cities where she's gone to. And for me, the greatest thing is, as of the 24 hours after she announced her support for a particular candidate, there were 409,000 people who registered to vote in 24 hours.
who registered to vote.
So I don't really know her music that well, I'll be honest, but in terms of just sheer impact, it's impossible to ignore the power of Taylor Swift, I think.
Yeah.
I have body's girl power, I think, like,
Yeah.
It is so cool to see a woman to have that kind of power, and she appears to be a nice human being who cares for others and looks out after others as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
She exercises the power well, I think.
Yes. Uses it for good, not evil.
She wears her crown well.
yes.
And so that's really awesome. So what else is going on with you guys? Holly, any ideas?
I actually came up with 20 questions for sisters to be interviewed with on a podcast. If you want me to start reading some of those off for you.
Yeah.
Love it. Do it.
Don't
right.
read them. I want you to pretend, Holly, like this is coming from a divine source outside of yourself, just off the top of your head. So don't look down too much, but read this like it's a divine moment in time for you. Very nice. Very nice.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
All right. One of the ones that I thought was really cool was, how do you navigate differences in opinions and lifestyles?
I get them to agree with me. I demand agreement on all topics.
That's
I
pretty much it.
think what's the most shocking about all three of us, and by extension our other two siblings, who are not here today, we have another sister and a brother, we very rarely disagree.
I know.
It's really kind of shocking, and people think we're full of crap when we say that, but it's really true. We very, very rarely disagree.
Yeah.
And usually if we do, we talk to the other one behind each other's backs. And
And then it gets sorted out somehow. There's no direct confrontation. That's
No, never come to. We're Catholic.
But how does that work? Because you're all independent, powerful people in your own right, but to agree on everything, it's hard to imagine that my sister and brother and I didn't agree on the color of what most of the time. So it's amazing that you guys could do that.
we just went up to my mother.
yeah, I attribute to Mom too. I think we just have similar values from our mother and our father, but mostly it's my mother's guiding hand. These are your best friends in life. Do not mess this up, kind of thing. And then a culture of art and music, and that was very prominent in our family. It was encouraged in our family, and we all like that. That's a powerful motivator for all of us, and we all share that as a common language. So we're constantly talking on this about, did you see such and such, and wow, what did you think of the new such and such album? And our brother played last night in New Jersey in Asbury Park with little Steven, and we just like this sort of similar things and bring our own perspectives. But I think that's a big a very powerful bond that we have.
Yeah. Plus, they're just cool people. For me, looking at them, I don't say this about myself, but I say it about them. They're all so cool that I can't believe I get to be in a family with them and that I get to be a part of it. Like I look at siblings who don't get along or tolerate each other, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait till we're all together again. Especially when all 5 of us together, which is rare these days. It's just just fuels my soul.
Yeah, but Amy, I'm willing to bet that if you were to ask Nancy that same question, she would say, "I look up to Amy so much you have no idea."
Oh, Amy is the coolest of the cool.
So cool. Yeah, she took a look at all the rest of us and synthesized stuff, and then just said,
she took the best parts of each of us as she was growing up, because she's the baby. She took the best parts of each of us and formed them into her personality, and so she's the coolest of the cool.
Yeah.
The distilled version.
The essence.
I just had them wrapped around my pinky sometimes because I was really cute.
And this is why she can demand everyone just agrees with her.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly. All part of my plan.
Holly got another question.
I do, actually. And this one, I'd love to split it up so each of you get a chance to respond to this one. And we can do it in alphabetical order if you want, or Kevin can choose how we dole it out. Do you want to choose who goes first? What sorting order you use for this, Kevin?
No,
Before I ask the question?
I would not pretend to have any idea who can answer the question.
Okay, so we'll let them do it oldest to youngest, because they know the ages. Okay. And the question is, one embarrassing or funny story that you love to tell about one of your siblings, one of the other siblings here. And then oldest gets to go first.
Careful, girls.
Careful. Spicy.
I'm easily the one that's going to get the embarrassing story.
I'm trying to think.
I'll go while you think.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite story about Beth.
It's mine too. Can we share this?
Is it Italy?
It's in Italy. The 3 of us went we all went on a family vacation in Italy. Our brothers in-laws at the time invited us to stay at a villa in Tuscany for a week, and it was magical and amazing, and it's the best week of our lives. I think I certainly can say that. Other people may have had better experiences, but anyway, one day the 3 of us went off on a little ride to go to the store or something. I forget where we were going. I thought we had a destination, but we got lost in the hillside of Tuscany, and we had no idea where we were going. And Beth had prided herself that she could speak a little bit of Italian. So we pulled over by the side of the road and we found this little Italian man, and Beth was like, can you help us? We're lost. We're trying to get back to our village. And she told him the name of the village. And she came back and she's like, okay, I got the scoop. We can either go this way and get on this road. It'll take us right back to the village. Or we can go this way. And he said, it's a Bella Vista and it's a beautiful view. So I think that we should go towards the beautiful view and take a nice ride. And that'll take us, then we can circle around back. And we were like, okay, sure, we're game. So we start driving and we're like, where the heck are we? And we finally, I think we followed somebody.
Oh, we followed the guy.
Followed the guy, and we're driving, and ultimately we're following him, and we keep following him, and we ended up in his driveway. And we're like, what's going on? And it turns out that Bella Vista was not a beautiful view. It was the name of the town where this man lived. And we had followed him home.
Bella Vista.
And we were still miles away from our destination.
I don't know how we got back. I
don't know either. I don't remember.
The grace of God.
And so now if you say the words Bella Vista, everybody falls apart because
that's why we're all studying Italian on Duolingo right now.
That's correct.
Yeah, I can't top that story. That was the one that came into my
That's
head.
the best one. I don't have anything as good. I really don't.
What was his face like when he realized you were following him all the way to his driveway?
You're crazy. He's like looking at me like, what?
What now?
I'm like, oops, sorry.
We're not stalkers, kind sir. There's a language barrier, I promise.
She was just so proud of herself. It was so cute.
Yeah, I thought I had it nailed. Yeah.
Who's next?
I don't know if I have as good a one.
Yeah. It's funny. I tend not to remember like the embarrassing. I mean, Nancy has more embarrassing stories about me in Italy that we were just talking about the other day, but that involved.
The trip was full of a lot of comical events.
It was eventful. My memories of you guys tend not to be like embarrassing, or it's just more just like the fun. Like Beth, when I was little, Beth is 13 years older than me. And when I was little, Beth went to college. And when she came back, she was 22 and I was 9. And she lived in Boston and she was this cool filmmaker, rock and roll girl. And she would let me come and stay at her apartment with her and her boyfriend. So I would go into the city all the time. I went to my first nightclub with Beth when I was like 9 because they were like, why bring her in? What's she going to do? And like baseball games and movies. I mean, that's why I have such a deep knowledge of music and movies and, theater and everything is because Beth always treated me like I was an equal, even when I was a little kid, and took me everywhere. Nancy did the same thing, took me everywhere. So I don't remember like the funny or goofy thing. I just remember like how cool it was. Like I was just so lucky to like get to go places that no kid ever gets to go. That's my memories.
Sweet.
I have to ask you guys because you all have been, Amy and Nancy have been interviewing people on the red carpet, and Beth, you're into music, you're an award winner. Who, in your experience, was the one person, if there is one person, who, for either good or ill, did not meet your expectations of who they pretended that they were to the general public, but who they were in just person-to-person contact? Does anybody come to mind? And you don't have to say the name.
I think sometimes people tend to be more shy than you think they're going to be, or nervous. Like, I mean, Beth's been making documentary films her whole career, and she's done amazing music documentaries with people like Johnny Cash, and so she can really speak to it. But from my experience, they're, big name producers who have reputations for being really tough on people. And then you get to their house and they're like freaked out because they're going to have to sit down for an interview. Those are the kind of things that stick out to me more than anything else. What about you, Beth?
I don't think anybody I've met turned out to be other than I thought they would be. I will say one of the things that was rather frustrating. I worked on a documentary before the Ron Howard Apollo 13 film came out with Tom Hanks in it. I worked for a company that made documentaries for PBS, and we were making a documentary about that. That came out earlier, and so we were working on that, and so we interviewed the Apollo 13 astronauts, and Fred Hayes was one of the astronauts. It was Jim Lovell and Fred Hayes were the two remaining of the three astronauts. And I was super excited to meet the astronauts and go to NASA and hang out in mission control. And like, that's my childhood too. The Beatles are one part of my childhood, and that is super embedded in my brain, but the space program was too. And so I was getting a chance to meet these guys and to interview them. I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's going to be so cool. They're going to tell us all this stuff. And Jim Lovell was a pretty good storyteller, but oh my God, Fred Hayes, lovely man. But oh my God, you'd think he worked at like a 7-Eleven or something. It's like, so Fred, tell us what it felt like when you got in that rocket and it goes into space. And he was like, well, it's different. Like, you couldn't get like 3 reasonable sound bites from the guy. He was just like, it was like punching a clock. Like, oh yeah. I mean, that's why he's an astronaut, because he has to be completely calm and collected. This guy was like way beyond that. It was hilarious. And we were so frustrated. And like, this is supposed to be the ultimate flyboy, these guys that go up in these rockets. And oh my God, it was really sad.
Beth, I have to ask you, one of my bucket list things is, and I better hurry because he's now 81, but is to interview Paul McCartnney. Have you ever been close to doing that? Oh
no, I wish. No, I mean, if I ever met one of the Beatles, I'd probably disintegrate. There's some people I can kind of talk myself. Okay, like we interviewed Johnny Cash, as Amy just said, and that was pretty amazing. And we kind of were like, kind of go into pieces, but we collected ourselves. The crew calmed down. We all calmed down. He was great. But if I actually met the Beatles, I don't know what would come out of my mouth. I don't.
You become Chris Farley.
Yeah. And Beth, it's great that you're here because I was 7 in '64.
Yeah, that's around me. I was born in '55. So you
were just a couple of years, and that was, but people who were not born at that time in '64 to '69, they do not understand the impact that the Beatles had on culture, on music, on fashion, on drug use, on all kinds of stuff.
I always say, like, would we have yoga if the Beatles hadn't gone to India? You know what I mean? Like there are these weird artifacts of that period that now are completely normalized, like going to yoga class, but some of that stuff would not have migrated here if it hadn't been for them. That would still be the domain of a very specific group of people. And now it's like mainstream. So yeah, I think there's a really cool book that a woman I met wrote called Beatleness. And it's about the idea that the thing about the Beatles is not only that they were fantastic, but the way they embedded themselves. And I think this is a little bit of what's going on with Taylor Swift, is these artists are appealing to such young people. Like, we're not talking teenagers, we're talking 7 years old, 8 years old. And so what she defines as Beatleness in this book is this idea that you are indoctrinated at such an early age. They never leave you. They are there. You will never have a greater love of music except that, like other people will appreciate the Beatles, but the people who came up in that time period, we got like a little bit of lovely brainwashing, like musical brainwashing. But
I have to say, I was saying this to someone recently too, as someone who was born after the Beatles, born in '68, right? So they had already had that moment.
Yeah.
I have never lived a day without hearing a Beatles song.
Sure.
And
Sure.
so for me, it's like drinking water and breathing air that you listen to the Beatles every day, whether so you intentionally put it on or you happen to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, so talk about getting into that like little kid brain. It's like,
Yeah.
Well, you know, the cool thing is that, at least for me, my son has more Beatle paraphernalia around his house than I do.
Mhm.
And he's got all the albums and stuff. And he is 37. So he was born in 88.
Right.
And so, but they held, like, I believe Taylor Swift's music is also going to have longevity to it, but they held the longevity that most musicians, including, and I hate to say it, but back in the 60s and 70s, the Beach Boys were a big thing.
Mhm.
They're not considered, except for Pet Sounds, they're not considered a big thing
Mhm.
because they just kind of faded away. With the Beatles, it's become multi-generational.
but you
Right.
know what part of that is, Kevin, is the strategy that they have behind the Beatles. They know the release dates for like the next 20 years of when they're okay. So this year is the 50th anniversary of this. We're going to do this box set.
Right.
This is the anniversary of this. This is when this movie came out. And they have mapped that out for years and years and years. So they're constantly keeping it in the consciousness of people as a new thing, not just a nostalgia, but like as a new breaking news thing.
Mhm.
And then they come up with a brand new song that 50 years after they broke up hit number one.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is and I'm sorry. They were just, I was devastated when my parents made me go to bed because they were going to watch Bonanza instead of Ed Sullivan. And I said, like, no, and they said, go to bed. So scarred me for life.
That is scarring. I would think that would be very scarring. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how you continue on.
It's because of Holly. Holly makes me continue on.
Holly, thank
You
you.
are the wind beneath my wings.
Next time you guys come, because it will be released, we have a brand new version of Wind Beneath My Wings.
Oh, by whom?
By the Sisters J. They're a group, two women. One is 19, one is 22, and they are in Nashville, and they were on my show. And their mom, who is Mary Jackson, is she worked with kids with autism and stuff, and all three of her kids are special needs as well, that she's helped them get over it, and their harmonies are just amazing. But Mary was on the show, and Elizabeth calls in. She's the older one. And we were talking, and I said, you know, your mom is like a mama bear. Does she protect you in every way possible? And she said, my mom is the wings beneath, or no, the
Wind beneath.
Wind beneath my wings. And I said, we have to record that. So I helped them financially. And so I'm the executive producer of Wind Beneath My Wings, their version of it. I can't play it today because we don't have it quite done, but next time you guys come, can I play it for you guys?
Definitely.
Hear that.
Definitely. You're a good egg, Kevin.
Well, are you talking about my head again?
No, never. You know I would never do that.
But no, it was just such a, and they did such a beautiful job. And now Beth, you might know this gentleman. His name is Ted Perlman. He's a producer out of Tennessee.
Oh no.
He's produced for Whitney Houston when she was here, and many others, Bob Dylan and lots of others. But he produced this for us, and it's just, I think it's wonderful. And Holly, not so much, but that's okay.
I'd never said that. Quit putting words in my mouth. Good Lord, man.
Wait a minute.
I need to make you like a Holly Muppet that you can like hold up.
I love it.
Well, you guys know how special Holly is to me, so.
Oh my God. To all of us.
Oh, love.
Well, we didn't interview Paul McCartney, but we produced an interview with Mick Jagger.
That's right.
That's close.
That's pretty Beatle adjacent, you know.
Yeah. Now, was I was watching. Well, let me ask you, Mick Jagger. His buddy wasn't with him. Who I'm not sure is still alive, but he keeps moving.
Keith Richards. Keith's going to outlive us all.
Yeah. Keith will be the last man walking the earth.
He was playing guitar on stage with Mick, and Mick was singing, and he still had that same cigarette sticking out of his mouth.
Yep.
God bless him.
Yep. Yes, Holly.
I want to hear the Johnny Cash story.
I was just going to say, I think you just hear the Johnny Cash story.
So the Johnny Cash story is it's one of those. Yeah, this is one of those ones that really sticks with you. So we got the opportunity to interview Johnny Cash thanks to Roseanne Cash, who I had known from a previous film, and she had arranged for me to interview her dad in Nashville for this film we were doing about the origins of country music and the original Carter family. And Johnny Cash married June Carter Cash, right? And June Carter's ancestors, or her mother and aunt and uncle, were the original Carter family. They are considered like ground zero for country music. So we were going to meet Johnny Cash to ask him questions about the Carter family, which he readily agreed to, because I'm sure at this point he's sick and tired of talking about himself. But it's also true that he loved his mother-in-law. And of course, we know he loved June. And June had just passed away a few months earlier. So I was kind of like saying to Roseanne, are you sure this is okay? And she was like, no, this is good. He wants to talk about it, Maybelle and June. Definitely you should, plan on doing this. So we flew to Nashville with a crew, and we got there and we found out that he was going to be in the hospital. He was in the hospital. And I said, oh my God, what do we do? And Roseanne said, if you sit tight for a couple of days, he'll probably be fine. He comes in and out of the hospital a lot now. And I'm like, okay. So the Friday came, we'd been there a couple of days. The Friday that he was supposed to get out of the hospital came, his son called me and said, yes, he's home. He'd love to see you. And I'm like, okay. So he'd been upstairs in his bedroom when we got there, and we started setting up, and we were told just to let them know when we were ready to go, and they would go upstairs and tell him he could come down. Now, because he had been sick, they had built an elevator in the house. And so when we were all set up, John Carter, their son, came out and looked around and went, oh my God, is that where you're going to put the camera? And we're like, yeah. And he said, oh, you can't do that. And I said, why not? He said, see up there? And he pointed to like what looked like a ceiling tile. And I said, yeah. And he said, that's the elevator. It's going to come right down on your camera. You got to move. So we raced around moving, and we finally got everything out of the way and reset up. They told him he could come down. So at the appointed time, this phone booth comes out of the ceiling. And fortunately, John Carter had the presence of mind to tell me that it also was going to have a painting of June on the outside. So it had this big folkloric painting of June. So the bottom half of the phone booth has a big painting of June, and the top half is glass. And as it comes down out of the ceiling, you slowly start to see the torso and then the head of Johnny Cash coming. And it's like the weirdest way to meet somebody. Really slow. The elevator goes really, really slow. It's like, and then he has controls over it because there have been accidents with crushing things underneath the elevator. So partway down, he stops and he peeks over, and we're all standing there looking up at him. For one thing, we're freaking out. It's Johnny Cash, and it's Johnny Cash in a phone booth coming down the ceiling.
With June's painting on the side.
Painting on the side. And he stops, and we all look, and he says, all clear? We all go, yes, sir. And then he goes, and he lands, and then he steps out and sits in this chair that we have set up for him. And he was delightful. He couldn't have been nicer. He was, he looked right at you. He was like, there was no escaping his gaze. And he told some very emotional things. He basically told us, when we were talking about losing June, and he said, God gave me everything I ever wanted. And I went, oh my God, and we're all crying.
Yeah.
And then he saw us crying and he went, God knows I didn't deserve it. We all cracked up. So he was like playing us. Like he's so experienced in, with people. And so at the end of it, he says, he looks at me, he shook everybody's hand. And then he said, time to get back in the Pope Mobile. So I'm like, okay. And he gets into the Pope Mobile and he starts going up. And as he went up, I couldn't help it. We were raised Catholic. And I gave him one of these side of the cross for him. And the last thing I saw as he disappeared into the ceiling was him throwing his head back and laughing and slapping his knee. And then he was gone.
Aww.
He ascended into heaven.
With June at his side.
With June
And he really did not much later ascend into
died,
heaven.
and he died a couple of weeks later. Yeah.
Wow.
I-
Is that interview that you did anywhere like people can access it, or was it like just like released within an in-house thing? And
Not the whole. I mean, the whole interview is now in an archive in Tennessee at the it's Eastern Tennessee State University has all the material from the film I did on them, because I didn't want it just sitting here in this room, which was where I'd be sitting otherwise. So but it's available to the public. If somebody were inclined, they could see it. But the bulk of that interview is in this film, The Winding Stream.
The Winding Stream?
Yeah.
Where can people see that? Is it still on Amazon?
It's on YouTube, and it's on Amazon, and it's on Vudu, and it was on Netflix for a while, but it's not on Netflix anymore. So it's I think the best bet is YouTube, actually. I think it's easiest to find.
Got it. I'm writing that down right now.
Amazing film.
Amazing film.
It is so sad when somebody that has been part of the American culture forever gets old. It really is. We need to have some sort of a way to keep the stars that we love young. I don't know how to do it yet, but
AI.
Yeah. Now,
oh, yeah.
now we have
Yeah,
at least as close as you can get. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? It's like Star Wars with Keith or with Mark Hamill, the third clone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 And you can be in it. You'll be able to be in it too.
Right.
Play any
VR.
Jedi you want.
Make your own adventure with Mark Hamill and the Catholic Star Wars. Yeah.
Oh, won't that be fun when we can do that? And we can do it's like the what is it, the in Star Trek, the
teleporter thing.
no, the in
Hologram? Holodeck?
the holodeck. Thank you.
I love the holodeck.
Well done.
But yeah, now we can do that. Like totes can do that now.
No.
That would be now too old to do that anyway. So but anyway, we need to talk about the Passionistas and all the things that you do, so that people can find out a little bit more, so that they can sign up with you, join you, and have a great time with other women who are all working to work together for the betterment of the planet, unlike some other people who think they don't like cats. I don't know what that's all about.
Or their owners.
Yeah.
Or their owners.
Yeah. So you go.
Oh, where do we start? The Passionistas Project is an amazing community we have built of women who are following their passions And we have an online sisterhood where we have invited everyone to have what the three of us have, this beautiful sisterhood where we support one another, where we celebrate each other, where we lift each other up and help each other through hard times. And we have classes and courses and workshops, but mostly we just have a safe space where women can come and be their authentic selves and get to know one another and feel loved, because that's what we're all about.
Mhm. They do it really well.
And every day there's something new on there every single day.
Isn't there? It's great.
We're glad you guys are part of it.
Yeah. So if your listeners, Kevin, want to like directly connect with Amy, Nancy, Beth, and now even me too, so they can go to the Passionistas.com and look for the tab that says
That's a sisterhood. Yep.
Sisterhood.
Join
Yep.
the sisterhood.
There's a free tier, so you can join for free and check it out and get used to everybody and make connections. And then you can always upgrade for courses and workshops that we're going to have coming up in. We have some great courses already there, but we're going to have some amazing workshops starting in the fall and into next year. We're actually going to do a storyteller workshop where women can we'll help them tell their story, and ultimately we'll put it in a book and we'll record it with them and we'll put it in our Women's Equity Summit. So it's a great opportunity to inspire other women with your story and to get over any fear you have or any thoughts that your story might not be worth telling. We're going to start to do that in October, just a few weeks from now. We're going to start that workshop. So we're super excited about that and trying to get Holly to join us. And yeah, we hope you'll find us there. And
at the end of this month, we're starting our DEI Mythbusters course with Crystal Lanice Walker. And Crystal is amazing. If anyone came to our Stop Project 2025 meetups, she led those meetups with Dr. Melissa Bird, and she's just amazing. And she's so brilliant at discussing difficult topics in a way that makes it really easy for people to understand and easy for people to ask questions without feeling like they're saying the wrong thing or feeling intimidated by it. So it's really going to be a great course for anyone who's really interested in finding out more about diversity, equity, inclusion, and what it really is, not what people are saying it is or isn't. So we encourage you to come to that too.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, and I will tell you, I've conducted probably somewheres in the neighborhood of 2,500 interviews of 2,500 different people. There's no such thing as a lousy story. Everybody has got a great story of their life and why they're here and what troubles they've had and the diversity they've gotten over and all that. And it really is exciting that you guys are doing that with specifically women, because a lot of times there's no place for them. They're so busy taking care of everybody else, they don't get a chance to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why the way we're doing this workshop is with our interview skills. So we're actually going to help them figure out what their topic is, and then we're going to interview them. So by the time we're done with the interview, they'll basically have like 80% of the story done. You know, so you aren't staring at that blank page or trying to think of like, I don't know what fancy word to say to express this. It's like, no, just talk, just say it the way you'd say it to a friend. And then we'll help you shape that into a written piece. But 80%, 90% of the work will already be done because you'll have told us your story. So it's going to be fun.
It is. I love that you're doing that because it is so vital. I had the opportunity to do something called Family Legacies, and I would interview older people based upon their life. And one guy said to me, he was younger, and he said, "I'll pay you to do this because my mother's got a great story." So I went and set up my equipment, and I was talking to her, and she said, "I don't have a very good story. Nobody's gonna like my story." And I said, "Well, let's talk about it. Tell me your story." She said, "Well, one day in 1941, I was working as a soda jerk." Holly, do you know what a soda jerk is?
I do, but many people do not, if you want to explain it.
So Beth, what's a soda jerk?
Soda jerk is someone who was behind the counter at a pharmacy fountain that would give you your malted milkshake or your
Soda on tap.
Yeah.
with a scoop of vanilla ice cream.
Okay, now I
Very
need
good.
a float.
So
A root
good.
beer float would be
Float.
fabulous about now.
Root beer float.
And so anyway, she said, and in walks a young man about her age. He was in uniform, and he bought a drink from her, and they got to talking. And she said, and he said, you know, you seem like a very nice young lady. I'm being deployed day after tomorrow. Would you marry me? And so she thought about it. And she goes, well, okay. And so they got married. He was deployed. He made it back all the way through. They were married for 50 years and had 7 children.
Oh my God.
But that wasn't a story worth telling, and it drove me crazy that she would even
had a story.
even think that. So we all have got great stories, and they all need to be told.
Yeah.
That's part of what makes you an amazing interviewer, Kevin.
It's true. It's true. Speaking of great stories, I want to give Beth a chance to tell us about the film she's working on right now, because if people did watch the Emmys last night and they are wowed by Shogun, that's kind of a good jumping off point. For Beth
I like to lead
talk
into that.
about her new film that she's just been shooting and editing.
When they make the feature film version of this story, they will hire the entire cast of Shogun to. Thank you, Aim. The film I'm working on is a film called Our Mr. Matsura, and it's the story of a young man who was born at the end of the samurai era in Japan, left as a 29-year-old, and Japan was changing rapidly at this point. So he left and came to Seattle, and then moved from Seattle to Alaska, and then from back to Seattle, and wound up in Okanagan County, Washington, which is the largest county in the state of Washington with the fewest people in it, in the state of Washington. And even today, that's the case. But when he came there, it was that kind of place, very remote. It's at the edge of, the county is at the edge of the Colville Confederated Tribes Reservation. And this guy, Matsura Sakai, he changed his name to Frank when he came here. Frank became the local photographer and took pictures, thousands of pictures of everyone, native and non-native, other immigrants. He took selfies. He took interesting portraits that were like skits. He did a lot of weird, like what we would think of as gender bending stuff with men in women's clothing and women in men's clothing and all kinds of play acting in front of the camera. And this is all like between 1904 and 1913. He died very young of tuberculosis, and he left this body of work that most people have not seen because it's been in this remote part of Washington state. So here's his picture. That's Frank Matsura.
Wow.
And
okay, we're gonna take a road trip, right?
You definitely got to go see this place. It's really amazing. And the town, even today, the film is about his life, but it's also about the people who have upheld his memory. So even today, if you walk in downtown Okanagan City, the county seat, there are these blown up pictures of his on the sides of buildings, and people talk about him like he's still alive. There's something about, and that's with the folks from the tribes as well as the folks who live outside of the reservation. They all know who he was, and they all talk about him like he's the most honored citizen of the Okanagan County area. So I'm really intrigued by him. I've been interested in him for decades, and I finally got funding to make this film, and he'll be done in January, and we'll be starting to show it around. So that's the story. But I got to go to Japan to research his history, and that got me on the Shogun kick, got me primed for going back to Japan. So
Boy, what a legacy, huh?
yeah. I mean, it's really cool. People can point at his pictures. I thought this was going to be a cute device for the film, that I was going to have a few people say, oh, this is my uncle, you know, and the picture was taken by Frank Matsura. But it turns out that dozens of people who are alive today can point at a photo and say, oh, this is my great grandfather, and this photo was taken by Frank Matsura. This is my cousin, you know, on my mother's side. Frank Matsura took this photo. Everybody knows who this photographer was and what his importance is in the area. And I don't know any place that can claim that about a local photographer. We have photos of our ancestors from the same period, and I know that those are our ancestors, but I don't know who took the photo. Mm-hmm. This guy was revered. He just had a very big personality, and people, you know, adored him. When he died, 300 people came to his funeral, and that was the biggest funeral anyone had ever seen in Okanagan County.
Wow.
People must have come from hundreds of miles around.
Well, it was interesting because the place, I was just reviewing it because I was sending this to my editor, but they tried to do it in a church. He was Christian, so they tried to do it in the church. The church couldn't hold the people, so they went to the local municipal auditorium, and it was standing room only. The place was packed, and the eulogies will, you know, which are how we're going to end the film, are just, they'll break your heart how much people love this guy. He was a very charismatic figure, and a great photographer. So.
Spoiler alert, all of Beth's films make you cry.
Oh my God. That's a Harrington trait.
Come with the tissue box ready.
It's one of the great joys of being a Harrington, is the ability
you gotta emote. You have to emote. What is it if you're not going to emote?
Well, ladies, we are so proud of our relationship that we have with you, because it means a lot, and I know it means a lot to Holly, but she is the one who put it all together, and to bring people like Beth here this has been a remarkably good show, and I want to thank you all.
Thank you.
For being
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks.
We love you guys, and we really appreciate you having us on over and over again. We adore you both, and Holly, you are our Passionista sister, and it's so fun. We've never done this before, where we've interviewed Beth, and you know, we've done separate things, but we've never been interviewed together. So it was really fun.
Yeah, we are so honored to be the first to interview the three of you together. This has been wonderful.
Well,
next time in Seattle.
Whenever you get all five of you together, we want to do it then too.
Oh my God.
Oh, that would be a blast.
That would be fun.
Our brother, spoiler alert, our brother appeared in the Supreme Court in front of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So
and open for David Bowie.
And open for David Bowie.
And The Clash, and fill in the blank. Yes.
So it'll be like the Harrington Five interview.
Yeah. Rock star and legal rock star.
So he wasn't by chance in front of Clarence Thomas, was he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Clarence.
If it were me, I'd have given him the finger. Did he?
No, he did not. He was very reserved.
Yeah,
he was very reserved. Yeah, I think it was before Ruth passed, so the only person that wasn't there yet was Ketanji.
Yeah.
Oh no, what's her name?
Yeah, well, the three new appointees weren't there.
No, Brett Kavanaugh was there.
Kavanaugh.
Oh, was he? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
He just started. Yeah.
Well, by the way, and I'll just say this one time real quick. I have a new political show. It's on the Brushwood Media Network at Saturday at 4 p.m. and it's called Unscripted Politics.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
And it's me and some idiot from Texas.
All right.
Interesting.
Give us a link to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys are going to be on that show because we would love to feature a progressive female point of view, because he doesn't know any females.
Oh, let us at him.
Do you have to get permission from his
some
wife
friends,
to be on the same show with other women?
Well, it would be a disaster for him, but it would be such fun to watch.
Oh, we have several people we could unleash that would be very entertaining and increase your viewership significantly.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're told that there's somebody at the White House that has listened. So,
All right.
All right.
So in any event, Holly, I'm going to let you lead us on out because we've got to wrap up our show for today. But I'm going to shut up and you be in charge.
Okie dokie. So thank you so much for tuning with us. Amazing, awesome, incredible listeners. You've been listening to Positive Talk Radio with Kevin McDonald featuring the Passionistas from the Passionistas Project. And we bring them on our show every Monday, the first and the third Monday of the month, except major holidays because we like to have breaks. And if you watch us on YouTube Live, you can comment and put questions in the live comment and chat, and Kevin can read them. And if I'm on the show, I can get your information and dish out some prizes out of our prize vault as well. So thank you so much. And remember, be kind to one another because each other is all we've got.
Mhm.
Well done, my dear. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.